Rachel.
Hi, Sarah.
I want to make sure my video's good. Okay. So today we're going to talk about how you are going to structure your work time for your lesson today. So I wanted to talk through these 3 planning steps, things you might think through as you're planning for that work time. So the mini lesson's over, kids are getting started, ready to work. How do you plan for that work time? So the first thing would be, what is the learning target today that you're hoping students reach during this time?
Sure. So the learning target that I have for today says that I can monitor for meaning, which is something that we've been working on with the kids about the last week or so, as I research landforms and water features to help me when I get stuck. So I'm anticipating that the document I'm going to have students work on today, we're going to talk a little bit about monitoring for meaning first as part of our mini lesson, and then the document the students will be working on, I have a feeling they're going to get a little stuck. We're incorporating some of the landforms and water features that they may or may not have already learned about in previous years, but I'm asking them to connect that to the 5 themes of geography that we've been learning about. And so I'm thinking they may have a difficult time with transferring some of that information about 5 themes over to where those landforms are, how to describe them with region and place, particularly as 5 themes of geography. So
it looks like you're anticipating student needs. They might struggle with the carryover. Is this the beginning of a new unit?
Well, it's probably towards the beginning. It's towards the beginning of our landform and water feature study and how it affects people. That's really the focus of that. So it's kind of in the middle of our geography unit, but at the beginning of a subset of that.
So when you picture yourself checking in and providing feedback for students today, do you anticipate that many students are going to need targeted support or just a couple students?
Well, the class that you'll be visiting today, there are definitely some students who they want to make sure that they're right. So I have a feeling that some of those students, because they're likely going to struggle with how to answer some of the questions on the document today, those will be some of my friends I'll be checking in on a little more frequently. And I also have a couple other students in mind that just may also need some additional support because of other plans they may be on. So I want to think ahead to thinking where they might be struggling and how I can best give them support during the lesson time today.
All right, so when you think about the time in this work time, so how many minutes are they going to be working on this activity?
So they'll be working on this activity for probably about 30 minutes today, just to complete the first page of the packet so that they have kind of an understanding and I can catch them if they need that catching and help them out. And then they'll be working on another page in this packet tonight for their homework as kind of some extended practice.
So out of those 30 minutes, at what point do you think kids might need some sort of a brain break or feedback as a whole class?
Yeah, so depending on how comfortable they're feeling at the beginning, because it may be that there's lots of questions at the beginning, I'll try to feel out and see what the best time would be, but I would assume probably the first 10 to 15 minutes would be somewhere where we might go, okay, let's take a pause, let's check in with our groups and see, hey, where are you at with things? Are you understanding what questions as we're monitoring for meaning today?
All right, and when you look at these strategies on this next page, so you have some teacher-led strategies and some student-led strategies, are there any of those that stand out as ones that would be effective for this particular type of an activity or work time?
Sure. So in the teacher-led strategies, I know that I plan to use some individual and group conferring and feedback. So as I'm walking around the room, I'll be checking with students and I'll be saying things like, oh, I noticed that you did such and such, or when you looked at the region, you weren't looking at the region of where this particular water feature is located. You were describing more of the location instead of the region. So I want to make sure I'm catching them in any misconceptions that they may have. And give them some specific feedback and how they can fix that. I may end up having to kind of catch the whole class at some point and say, hey, let's catch you guys, let's go over this one particular area, maybe it's region, maybe it's place, and say, so what do we notice? What can we do to kind of fix that that stuckness that I have a feeling that they might get into. For student-led strategies, I'd like to do some stop and collaborate. So at the beginning, when we talk about monitoring for meaning, I will likely be asking kids to have some conversation about what's going on in their mind. What type of conversations are they having mentally as they're getting stuck? And then what actions will they take to help them get unstuck during those times? So we'll have some stop and collaborate and listen at the beginning. And then maybe during that halfway point when we kind of take a pause, we'll do some peer review and see, okay, so what does your paper look like? What does my paper look like? Are we on the same page here? So that's what I anticipate.
So it sounds like you have anticipated some struggles that they might have midway through the workshop that they probably won't realize when you're giving the mini lesson. It takes a minute for them to uncover get involved with it before they can uncover their needs. So it also sounds like you have some flexibility in which strategy you might use, but you have kind of a vision for this work time. And we're excited to see how it's all going to play out.
Me too.
Thanks, Rachel.